Welcome in, Cuse fans, to our pregame report as we get you set and ready for Syracuse and Pittsburgh on a Saturday night in the Dome. And we switched things up a little bit this week, brought on a former Syracuse football player. So pleased to be joined by former Syracuse defensive back, Julian Whigham. Julian, man, thanks so
Yes.
much for taking the time.
Man, thank you for having me on the show. Now, I was telling you pre-show, man, it's been awesome. And I'm excited to have the invite. I've been seeing your work, on Twitter and such, and you're doing a great job. And I thought it was pretty cool that I got the invite to do this. So more than happy to hang out on the show with you today.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because, like I was telling you, I grew up in high school getting to watch you play and ball out. So really appreciate the full circle moment for sure. Well, I know you do a lot with Stephen Fonte, who obviously works for us here at Q Sports Talk. You're involved with News Channel 9 over there. But for those that aren't in the mix, you're kind of newer to our audience right here at ESPN Syracuse
Sure.
and Q Sports Talk. So give us a little bit of an update on what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah. So, my background, I originally started doing this. I was, doing the master's program at Newhouse. And I have been bouncing around a few different outlets in the local Syracuse area, covering Syracuse football for a little while. And eventually, those student loans started to creep up and need payments. So it was crazy how it worked out. I actually, I was, really just looking for work, and I had applied for an MBA at NYU, thinking, I'll try my luck in finance. And it worked out where I ended up sitting with a guy who they'd have an alumni program. He was like, listen, I think you are exactly what we're looking for right now. So here's the proposition for you. You can either do this program and get a job in 2 years, or you can come hang out with me, take an internship, and see if you can get a job right now. And I'm like, you know what? I looked at my wallet. I think I had maybe $3.78 in there. Like, you know what? I'll take a job right now.
Yeah.
So the way it's worked, I've been in finance. I've been trading. I started with repo. I've grown into like some front end rates, front end derivatives since then. So I've been in finance now for about 5 years. I started at TD Bank. I've worked for a hedge fund. I now, assist in running a desk at another Canadian bank. So life's been pretty good for me. Student loan payments, obviously a little easier to manage these days, but that's kind of where I've been. But the nice thing is I still get to use that critical thinking model of, okay, if this is happening, how do you look at this? And if this is happening, how do you look at this? And I got to say, thinking about Syracuse football for those 2-3 years and how a defensive line and how a defensive scheme matches up with an offense is not that much different than how the 2-year note matches up with non-farm payrolls and, what that number would do to the 2-year yield and how that affects the macro environment. So it all became very cohesive at the end of it. And I'm happy for how my journey has played out.
That's fascinating stuff, man. There you go. There's that Syracuse University degree right there in full effect. No question.
That's it.
Well, I know you still follow this Syracuse football program very closely. I want to ask you, what were your first impressions on Fran Brown when he got the job and first got to Syracuse?
Yeah. So first thought coming in, I'm like, all right, it sounds like he was actually, the archetype of what I was hoping Syracuse would hire. Right. I was doing the show with Steve and, they were floating a few names out there. And my idea was, you know what? Go get somebody from the SEC that just knows ball, right? Go find someone that knows ball, that knows recruits, that knows how to find the right guys and put them in a system, that knows what it looks like to win, right? And my first thought was, maybe it's an offensive coordinator, maybe it's a defensive coordinator. And then Fran Brown popped up, and I'm like, you know what? This is even better. Why is that? Because he had brought in some of the best talent to Georgia, right? And I'm like, okay, the guy that's kind of spearheading, the recruiting efforts for one of the premier programs in the country. Yeah, I kind of want him to come to Syracuse because with the transfer portal now and how NIL has worked out, I think any pro, like look at Indiana right now, right? Obviously they've got, exactly. I mean, you get the right coach in there. Indiana was a school when I was coming out, they were like a 5-7, 6-6 kind of program, right? All of a sudden, they become something with the right coach, scheme, system in place. And now I see that for Syracuse. I've always seen that for Syracuse. And, when Fran Brown came out, I was like, this is the guy. listen to the way he talks, listen to the way that, recruits respond to him. I think he has the right mindset, and he's the modern kind of coach that you're looking for in this new era of college football. And I thought he was a gold mine when they hired him. I think like Steve always messed with me about, do you have 10 wins this year? Do you have 10 wins in you this year? And I'm like, I don't know. With Fran, I was like, you know what? I actually think this guy can put something in place for them to do it. And with what they've done so far, I love Fran Brown for the program. I'm actually happy they're having the season that they're having right now, because maybe that tempers some of the interest in Syracuse's head coach right now. But I've been a big fan of his since he's gotten here. And, I really hope that he continues to lead this program in the right direction, because I think he is the exact kind of coach that you're looking for in this modern college football era.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just feel like Fran is special, and he's different in so many ways. And it's so refreshing to have him here in Syracuse. I got to ask you, as an alum of the program, how awesome was it to see the success that this team had last season? Of course, with Kyle McCord, the 10-win season. I mean, what a great year for Syracuse football.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's one of those things where, like, I cook a little bit now, and sometimes you got to put things together and you're not quite sure how it's like. You try to follow the recipe, but every so often you got to put something in that you like, right? Whether what kind of cheese or whatever, mozzarella versus cheddar or whatever it is. And I just feel like the way that they put this thing together, Kyle McCord coming over from Ohio State, you've got transfers coming in at defensive back. I just felt like the team came together with the perfect recipe last year to really make a run. Right, with the scheme that they were running, with, again, Kyle McCord, I think, was the engine for that team last year. But I just think with Fran Brown running, if it was any other coach, I don't think it works the right way. Right. Sure. So to me, I just thought that the way that it came together last year was awesome. I got a group chat with my guys now, Colin Knapp, Amari Palmer, Seamus Shanley, and we always go back and forth, like, what do we think this year? What are you guys thinking? Yada, yada. And that was the happiest I've ever seen that group chat in years, right? The guys all of a sudden want to start planning trips and everything. I'm like, oh man, look at what Syracuse football can do. So as an alumni of the program, I think I speak for many of us who have played, that it's a breath of fresh air and very exciting, because I think the standard from just that one season has carried over into what people expect from Syracuse football now, and it's no longer 6-6 and make a bowl game. I've always hated that. But I've always hated bowl games. I just thought they were meaningless games. But now with the expanded playoff, I think people see Syracuse as a team that should be competing for the ACC and competing to make the tournament. And I just find that to be awesome, because, for where Syracuse has been for so long, this is a really exciting time to be a Syracuse football fan.
Yeah, no question. And to have that transpire the way it did in year one, it was just a launching pad for the Syracuse football program. Want to ask you, though, we're at the midway point of this year's team, right? This is a new team, new challenges, new schedule, new players, new a lot for Syracuse football. What's your assessment of this year's team at the midway point here?
Yeah, so if you had asked me this, just going into Clemson, I was a lot more optimistic on where I thought this team was going to go. I thought Steve Agnelli had been Kyle McCord part 2. Essentially, to me, right? This offense, to me, is one of the best in college football in terms of the scheme that it uses, the way that it makes it easy on a quarterback to make a read. It's really 1-2, oh, it's not there. Then the skill point of the quarterback comes in. I know where 3 is because of this defense. And you can say that about a lot of offenses, but when you simplify something to the point where it's just automatic, right? And maybe Kyle McCord was advanced because he's that senior, transfer quarterback, and maybe the processing power is a little bit faster because of the experience. But to me, it seemed like, he picked that up in one season. And then Angeli came in, I think he was a redshirt sophomore. I think he had 2-3 years experience, basically. He came in and immediately picked it up. All of a sudden leading the country in passing yards. To me, I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of offense a quarterback wants to play in if he wants to get to that next level, if he wants to put up numbers, right? But then, talking to the guys over at Channel 9, I'm like, you know what? I think they can beat Clemson. I think they can. It just reminded me of those previous like that. The one that came in mind was that NC State Florida State rivalry because I'm from Florida.
Okay.
It just reminded me of that because they'd always play them close, and then one every so often NC State would just win the game.
Right.
And to me, I thought Syracuse was going to be the NC State of that rivalry because they play them close. And this year, I thought they had the right ingredients because of where they were at quarterback versus where they were on the defensive side. And after that game, I was like, you know what? Clemson may not be that great, but I do think Syracuse is good enough to continue this run. Since then, I don't know. I mean, I do know what happened. Steve got hurt and Jelly got hurt, all right? Which hurt, but with Collins coming in, I had heard about Trevor Pena and his issues with the quarterback situation.
That's going well, by the way, in Happy Valley.
right. I find it funny how things have worked out for the kid. Hopefully, I got paid or whatever.
You wish him well. You wish him well. No question.
Right, of course. Go get your money, man. To me, I'm like, you're spending my money. I deserve some of that. But at the same time, no, I'm more than happy for these guys getting paid. But from what I heard, Payne was essentially saying, hey, I don't think the next guy up is good for me. And I think a lot of receivers probably thought that he just had the power to leave. And when you see something like that, that was a red flag in my mind that, Collins may not be the guy. He may not be ready, right? And we see him get into the game, and he has not been. The criticism has come in very strong and heavy. Some of it deserved, I think some of it not. But in my mind, since that period, I don't think Syracuse has the engine it needs to run as effectively as it could. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm not sure if the scheme is lining up correctly. It's a 4-2-5 with the multiple fits on offense between the 3-man front, 4-man front. I think coordinators are starting to lose their touch a little bit on how to game plan for offenses. So on both sides of the ball, I think there needs to be some improvement. I think on the offensive side, it's more player focused. But on the defensive side of the ball, I think that's more of a scheme fit and really putting your players in position to succeed because I do think they have a talented defense this year.
Big one coming up in the Dome on Saturday, of course, with Pittsburgh in town. This is a Pitt team that has really had the opposite happen, right? They made a change at quarterback. It's worked out for the best. Now they're looking like possibly one of the top half teams in the ACC. So Saturday definitely got a lot more difficult. You look at the Syracuse schedule the rest of the way. You still have to go on the road and play at Georgia Tech. You have to play at Miami. You have to play at Notre Dame, right? And then when you look at the home games, you have Pittsburgh, you have North Carolina on Halloween, and you have Boston College. This is a team that sits at 3-3. How crucial is this Pittsburgh game when it comes to trying to earn a bowl bid and get a 6th victory this season?
Yeah, so the way I look at this, it's less so about even getting to the bowl game because, again, I think recruits, because I still think I have this immature brain that still somewhat relates to recruits. And to me, I don't think recruits care about bowl games at all, right? It's more so, is this place a fit for me? And why is that? One, can you still win games? How are they coaching this? How do they look on television? That's why I think national games and being on TV is important for Syracuse. I think it's important just for the continuity of recruiting and where they're going as a program, right? I know coaches will sell, around that or away from performance on the field. But to me, it's this Pitt game, I think is important for recruiting defensive players and what they do to improve and how they look on television. Because to me, I saw that got the freshman quarterback. I'm forgetting his name. I saw him against Florida State a little while back, and he's throwing for 300 yards, but the kid can't throw outside the hashes to save his life, right? And to me, I mean, it's a very obvious defensive situation, and then I haven't watched genuine film in years, but I could tell just from watching that game, what Schaefer would have done is just get in his face, make him look outside, and become frantic, right? I'd imagine Pitt will game plan around that. Syracuse will game plan around that, but you got to pressure this kid. He was playing high school football last year, right? Get in his face, go after him, and then you've got to make these plays. Pitt is a game I think they can win. I think BC down the line may be a potential win for them if they can get this thing together. If Rick Collins can figure this thing out, I think that's a win. The rest of those games, it's going to be tough to watch, I think, for this year. But
even North Carolina?
You're right. North Carolina with Belichick over there, I think he lost focus months ago. His mind is very far away from that program, I think. But yes, UNC I think will be is also a win. I think, and a potential win for Syracuse. I mean, they have to win that one actually. So there's some wins on the table, but as far as like the Miami's of the world, Notre Dame, like that, those games to me, it's like first half. All right, hopefully I drank enough to enjoy the rest of my Saturday. But that's what I think in terms of how we look at this season. It's, can you show flashes during the games you're supposed to be in for you to really sell recruits on the vision that you have for this program? And that last year wasn't just a fluke because of your quarterback. That's what I want to see from this program, because that's where I think the continuity and the importance and significance of the rest of the season really lies, rather than the outcome of the season.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think it's so unfortunate the way that losing your quarterback really can derail a season. It's like, I almost want to remind the fan base, right? Like, the one year the New England Patriots didn't win the AFC East was the year that Tom Brady tore his ACL in week 1, right?
Exactly.
And they missed the playoffs. It's like,
excellent example.
It's when you lose your quarterback, and Steve was really cooking. He was leading the nation in passing, like we had alluded to. It's really hard to put the wheels back on, if you will. So that's what I always try and remind the fan base a little bit.
Agree.
Obviously, you had some battles with Pittsburgh back in the day, right? Anything come to mind? Any fond memories of playing against the Panthers?
You know what? It's funny you say a fond memory, because I actually don't remember the play at all. We were playing Pitt. I think it was my junior season. We're going to the game. That was back when they had what was the kid's name? I'm forgetting. 23. He was one of the top receivers at Pitt. Honestly, I think in their history for like all-purpose yards. He went on to go to the NFL. But he was like my matchup. That season, my junior year, I was like, if I want to get to the NFL, I got to cover the top guys. And turns out I had and then on top of that, one of my roommates, my freshman year, Dantes Ford, had transferred to Pitt. So we're going back and forth on Instagram, just shooting it and excited for the game.
Was it Tyler Boyd?
Tyler Boyd. It was.
There you go.
There it is. Great memory.
I Googled that. I'll admit I Googled that.
it was going to catch me eventually. The CT is slowly catching me.
He's a good ball player, though.
Yes. I was looking forward to this matchup. I was like, man, if I can get this one, this will be great. And it worked out where I cover him. I cover my old roommate. We're going back and forth, John, whatever. And eventually I ended up having a back shoulder PBU, right? And it's funny because everybody, like, I see it on tape, right? Like, oh, man, that's a great play. And my coach is like, if you could just do this all year, we'll be all right. And I'm like, I don't know how I did it, because after the play, I felt like I woke up at the game. And you'll notice on the film, everyone slapped me in my head after the play, right? So at some point, some lineman with a heavy palm or something hit me hard enough that I sustained some kind of concussion on my way to the sideline. Because I tell you, when I looked up, I saw my gloves. I saw Shamarko Thomas, who had graduated years ago. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What's going on? And they're like, Julian, it's punt. It's punt. And I'm like, okay, go punt the ball then. what are you talking to me for? Why am I dressed? And to me, that's one of the craziest, like, that's not a great football example or memory, but to me, it's like, man, I don't remember anything that happened. I had to go see the whole thing on film, but it was probably one of the best plays I had made athletically in my career. And I actually don't remember the play at all, because somebody slapped me in my head hard enough for me to sustain a concussion that kept me out for 2 games.
That's crazy. And the concussion came from the celebration.
Yes. Of course, from the celebration. Of course.
Yes.
If you don't get hurt celebrating, you weren't celebrating hard enough.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Last one for you here, man. This is great. I think we're definitely going to have to do this again before the season's over. Can we get a prediction for you for Saturday?
Yeah.
Syracuse and Pitt in the Dome. What do you think?
You know what? I'm going to take the Syracuse upset this game. I'm not sure what the line is anymore. I think it was around 7. If I'm mistaken?
I want to say it was up. It was as high as 10. I think 10.5.
Oh my!
At one point, I know. Because they're always sleeping on the cues.
And I think Syracuse is good money this year, regardless. I'm going to take them 1 to cover. But I think they win this football game. So to me, I just think that there's enough on tape for this defense to take advantage of that Pitt quarterback and what they're doing. And on the on the other side of the ball, Narduzzi is just like Scott Schaefer to me. They press corners. They want to put pressure on you. If Ricky Collins can put it together for one game, it'll look amazing on film because they are vulnerable on defense if you can just go after those guys. I just know that defense so well. Go up top, get the ball out of your hands. I think Syracuse can win this football game if they put it together on defense, create some turnovers, and on offense, take some shots down the field. That's my vision for this game. If it plays out, you heard it here first.
I love it. I love it. All right, Julian, man, thanks again so much for the time. Enjoy watching the game. I know you're on vacation this week, so enjoy the rest of your vacation. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. All righty now. Have a good one now.
All right, you too. He's Julian Whigham. I'm Giovanni Heater. We're back after this. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.